What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode number 342 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast. Today, I'd like to welcome our new listeners from Moldova, Honduras, Guyana, and Ethiopia. That brings the total number of countries up to 102. Awesome, guys. I'm just amazed at the growth that's taking place. So keep sharing, liking, subscribing, telling your friends about it, send them a link, whatever you're doing, it's working. So thanks again. And again, if you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback rebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. Today's episode, number 342, is entitled Wind in Recovery. And this is part two, as last week it was Anchor in Recovery. And we talked about the anchor as we're sailing this boat of recovery. Now we're looking at the wind. And we look at the good wind this week that helps us sail forward in recovery, and the negative winds that can blow us into a shipwreck. Let's start by definition for wind from a boat standpoint. Wind for a boat is the air movement that propels a boat, typically by sails, or affects its heading. It can be so strong that you, even with a power boat, you can't head directly the way you're going. But it can provide power to propel us along. It can dictate the way we maneuver things and determine the safety limits of when the wind could just be so strong that it's not safe to even be out there. And I'd like to start by looking at the story of a sailing situation from the book of Acts, chapter 27. And this talks about several different winds that have affected this journey that Paul was on to go to Italy. And the first, it said they ran into contrary winds. And this was a fierce headwind, and it blew them in every different direction. And finally, the centurion, who was the head of the contingent to take Paul to Italy, decided to buy a different boat because of the wind. So I want you to think right up front. What do you do when the winds seem contrary? They blow you every which way and make it difficult to get on your journey of recovery. Do you reach the point where you might need to get a new boat? You might need to try a different program, be at a different rehab, be in a different group, whatever. What do you do in those situations? The second winds that they ran into were what's called not permitting winds. And these were winds that just didn't permit them to go the way they wanted to go. It hindered their progress. It just made them sort of hug the coast more. And eventually they found a place to rest out of the winds called Fair Havens. So do you find that the winds just don't let you branch out the way you want to, and you got to stay close to the coast? You got to stay close to your stable places, so to speak, and eventually say, man, I need to go into harbor. I need fair havens. I need a fair shelter to stay in. But in Acts, what they found out was Fair Havens, the harbor was not suitable to winter in. So they had to move on. And I want you to think about, what's your season for where you're at? How long is your harbor safe? Is it suitable for where you need to be long term? Is it time to move on? Because you can miss your window of opportunity. If they had not moved on from Fair Havens and winter set in, it would not have been favorable. Then they ran into what's called positional winds. And these are winds that they direct the way you're going. And it says that they felt a soft southern breeze coming and said, ooh, this is a favorable wind. So this will make it easier for us to go where we're going. So they packed up and headed out in the boat again. But the wind changed into a headwind. Have you been in that situation where you felt this soft southern breeze and said, oh, this is a favorable time to move on, I'm in a good spot, but you maybe left too early or misread the breeze? So I want you to remember, when a soft breeze comes that looks like recovery is getting easier, make sure it's one that doesn't turn on you, because in this situation, it changed into a headwind. It changed into driving winds that were so strong that they couldn't go against them. And they feared for their lives and started tossing everything overboard, all the parts of the ship, the food, everything, tossed it into the sea. And eventually they had to run aground and crash. So I want you to think about those times when you thought you made that decision to follow a soft breeze, but it turned into the thing that led you to the next crash. It could be similar to just sort of leaving a rehab too early because a soft, gentle opportunity appeared and you thought you had it covered, but it turned against you. So I want you to think about the ways that you react to the changing winds in recovery, when they're contrary, when they're not permitting, when they're positional, when they look favorable, when they change into headwinds and driving winds. Okay, now I'm going to tie into some stuff from Africa. As you know, I've spent many years in Africa, and there's a lot of wisdom that comes out there. And I want to give a shout out to Felix from Krugersdorp for his input. He shared with me the Xhosa worldview, and I can't speak the language, so ask for you to pardon my pronunciations. And he says that in Xhosa, they just see the wind as something unstable, uncontrollable, unpredictable, not anchored. And it sort of explains where something solid cannot be built if the wind is too strong. And the first phrase he shared with me is Inja Yomoya, which literally means dog of the wind. And this describes a person who doesn't have a settled plan on living, no set goals or dreams. They're busy living on a whim. So are you that person? Are you that dog of the wind who is drifting wherever the day takes him? No roots, no routines, and just following impulse. If you are, that's addiction. That's not recovery. And the other phrase he shared with me is Uzipambala Emoyeni, which is you're lighting a fire in the wind. And again, forgive my pronunciation. And this is to describe a person who's putting effort into building things that won't last because the wind of impulse keeps blowing it out. So like trying to start a fire, getting all excited about something, but the wind blows it out. But you keep doing it. You keep doing it again and again. Is that you? And if so, again, that's not your way to work with the wind in recovery. Then in Afrikaans, and I'm not going to say it in Afrikaans because it's a whole sentence, but it says, you can't stop the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And that is true for all of us, especially in recovery. Changes or hardship are inevitable. We need to embrace the uncertainty with optimism and know that we can always adjust our sails. Then a couple of other African proverbs that I found were, the wind does not break a tree that can bend. Is that you in recovery? You bend, you can be flexible, you can be resilient to the changes of the wind so that you don't get broken. And another African proverb says, the wind helps those without an axe to cut wood. Can that also be you, where you realize that the wind, sometimes even a storm wind, can be a blessing if you're willing to go out and collect the wood that the wind knocked down out of the trees during the storm? Or are you just complaining about the storm? And in closing, I like the saying, when the music changes, so must the dance. And this is also an African wisdom, and it highlights that just as the rhythm and the tempo of the music shift, so too should our actions, our strategies, and our approaches to a situation. It emphasizes the need to be responsive and flexible in order to keep moving forward. So you got that. When the music changes, so must the dance. And in this case, think of the wind as the music. And in closing, the final African proverb is, a tree that refuses to dance will be made to do so by the wind. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do so on the link in this episode, or you can email me at david@a2d@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.froma2d.org, and click on the contact page. Keep listening to future podcast episodes, and as always, stay safe and stay resilient.